This video is sponsored by beducated. Hello Chaos Gang and welcome back to my bullshit. My name is Sybil and today I'm here alone. If you want any of Ali or I's socials, they will be linked down in the description below. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about LGBTQ sex ed, and the reason I want to do that is because it's not really given to a lot of us. I specifically remember in my 8th grade sex ed class, somebody in the anonymous box wrote down, "What about queer sex?" And the teacher quite literally fucking said, "None of you will be needing that," and then like threw it away. Or in my senior year sex ed class, I had like a great teacher, like super ally, but she still like didn't have the material to teach us that. Or I remember my mom coming in to give me the talk and being like, "I don't really know." And so I had to do all the research on my own to figure it out. So a difficult thing for queer people is we often don't have a source that we can go to learn about STD, STI rates, different protection measures other than just condoms not to get pregnant. Condoms have other uses, but obviously that's one of the main reasons we're taught to use them in school. And preventative measures when it comes to certain body parts interacting with certain body parts. So full disclosure, I am not a doctor, I am not a sex educator, I am just doing this because I want there to be a source. I found a bunch of sources online. I'll put the URLs on screen so that way y'all can see them. But there are a lot of sources and I grabbed them from all different sides of the internet to try to make one pretty cohesive video. Now obviously there are queer couples where one partner has a penis and one partner has a vagina. Queer couples like that exist. In this video we'll not be going over couples like that just because that's the education we tend to get, but a lot of the information in this video is also still a general rule for couples like that as well. A lot of the research done is on cis lesbians or cis gay male couples, so I did my best to change the language that I'll be talking with to be more inclusive. So you might hear me say vagina owner having sex with a vagina owner, or penis owner having sex with a penis owner. If those are terms that make you uncomfortable, I'm really sorry. I have yet to find a term that everybody is like cool and comfortable with. But obviously there are people with vaginas that are not women and there are people with penises that are not men. I did make like a giant Google Doc on my phone, so if you see me looking down, it might be that I'm referencing this because a whole lot of information, don't want to mess it up, and I kind of want to keep things in a cohesive manner. But before we get into it, I want to tell you about today's sponsor because they are like super related to the topic today. Today's sponsor is beducated. Beducated is an online source where you can find all kinds of information on sex. Beducated has over 100+ hours of educational resources. This can be from male-on-male sexual experiences, to face-sitting, to fingering, to vulva play, to kinks, to communication. And that's like just scratching the surface of it, really. And these tips are coming from like world-renowned educators. There's new content every week, they're high-quality streaming videos, and a subscription gives you like unlimited access to all of the courses. So the course that I watched was on face-sitting. It was an hour and 45-minute long course. The teacher of the course was Luna Matatas, and you may know her because she was the lady that actually originally coined the "Peg the Patriarchy" quote. But something that's awesome about this educator in particular is that she is not only POC, but she is plus size. So a lot of what she talked about in the course was very body focused, body positive. And she was really good about talking about how like people often get scared of face hitting and stuff like that because they're worried about their body being the wrong body for that position. And so she breaks down some of the myths and gives communication tactics that can make you and your partner feel more comfortable. But more than just that, she goes into a bunch of different positions, communication tactics. She talks about role playing, ways role playing can fit into those particular scenarios. She explores different turn-ons and turn-offs and how to communicate those with your partner. Talks about building confidence, health and hygiene. She's also super language inclusive in the way that she taught this course, which I obviously love. She also brought up how face-sitting wasn't just for people with vaginas because there's also like anal face-sitting and stuff like that. And if you're worried about seeing too much in this course, I want to be clear, like this sex education course didn't show actual photos, didn't show porn, if that's something like you're not comfortable with. She actually used like these little stick figure emojis to show different positions and stuff like that, which I thought was cool. Because if seeing porn is not part of the way you want to be educated, like it's not in there. She talked about a lot of things that I hadn't even thought of, which is really cool because as somebody who's been having sex for a while and has used those positions before, it's cool to learn something that I didn't even know. So these courses aren't even just for like people who are new to sex. These courses are for like anybody who enjoys having sex. Overall, I really actually enjoyed it. It was really cool. So if you're interested in beducated, you can try it for free for a whole day before you make any purchase. And you can actually use my code Sybil for 65% off a yearly subscription right now, which means you're gonna level up your love life for only $9.99 a month. You'll literally get access to every single course. Like I said, there is over 100+ hours of these educational videos by these like amazing educators. and the discount will be locked in for life once you sign up with that code. So definitely check it out. There will be a URL in my description that you can click on to use my code, and I will also pin it as the top comment of this video. So thank you so much, Beducated, for sponsoring this video. It is so relevant to the topics we're gonna be talking about, which is awesome. So jumping into the video, I wanna talk about something that's so important, which is just overall protection. But starting with condoms, since they are the most known. Condoms are 98% effective against pregnancy, so just remember there is always that little bit of possibly not, but I'm gonna be talking a little bit more about STIs, STDs, stuff like that. Never use 2 condoms because the friction against them can actually break both of the condoms. This includes not using a condom with an internal condom, and if you've never heard about an internal condom, which I'm sure many of you haven't, I will also be talking about that. Condoms can help prevent STIs, STDs, condoms can be used vaginally, anally, and condoms can also be used on sex toys. If you're wondering why you might want to use a condom on a sex toy, it could be if you're having sex with multiple partners, help to prevent STIs because STIs can spread through sex toys, which I feel like a lot of people also don't know if they were used on somebody with an STI or STD. And if you're having sex with multiple partners, especially at once, you can put a condom on a sex toy. All right, we're back. I had to turn on the air conditioning and now there's 2 cats in the room. So next up is a dental dam. Imagine dental dams as like a little square of latex. They can be used to help prevent STIs and STDs during oral sex specifically. Basically, you put the little square of latex in between your mouth and whatever, you know, hole you're licking. If you don't know where to purchase a dental dam or you don't have one on hand, you can actually snip the end and the tip of a condom and basically unravel it to be like a dental dam. I've also seen some sources saying you can use plastic wrap as an alternative. I'm not sure how well that would work with like the friction. Third is that internal condom we kind of talked about when we were talking about condoms. So an internal condom is what it sounds like. It goes into the vagina. Once again, don't use a condom and an internal condom because the friction can break it. And these can also help prevent STIs and STDs. If you weren't aware, there's actually vaccinations for a select few different STDs, STIs. One being an HPV vaccination, a hepatitis A vaccination, and a hepatitis B. These all have vaccines. And then of course, one of the best preventative measures just ever in history is communication. Hi. Communication can help prevent STIs and STDs in the sense of like telling somebody if you have one, halting sexual activity if somebody has one. And then also one of the best preventative measures as far as spreading is get tested. A lot of STDs actually don't have symptoms for many people. So if you have multiple sex partners or your partner has multiple sex partners, get tested. This can help you make the best choices for you in your relationship as far as STI and STD prevention. All right, so we're gonna start with talking about vagina owners having sex with other vagina owners, STIs, STDs, how they So we're gonna be talking about vagina owners that sleep with vagina owners first. These studies were done on cis lesbians and cis bisexual women, but once again, some vagina owners are literally men that sleep with other vagina owners. So vagina owners that sleep with vagina owners, the STD rates are around 2.3% to 6.7%, which is like by far the lowest. But keep in mind it is there. STIs and STDs still exist for these people. Like first of all, herpes, which you may know it as herpes 1, which is like cold sores, stuff like that, or herpes 2, which is more like genital herpes. An estimated 1 in 10 lesbians with vaginas have genital herpes. And vagina owners in general are much more likely to have herpes. So we're specifically gonna talk about genital herpes. Symptoms include pain or itching in the genital area, red bumps, tiny white little blisters. These can last like days to weeks. They scab over once they begin to heal. And a common myth is people think they only occur on the genital region. They can actually occur like on your butt, on your thighs, your anus, your urethra, vaginal area, cervix, or like, yes, your external genitals. So they're not just located to one specific space. So there is no actual cure for herpes right now, but there are antivirals that can lessen the amount of times you have an outbreak or lessen the severity of your outbreaks. So as far as prevention, condoms can help prevent, but you have to remember that they're not just occurring on the genital areas. Since they're occurring on other parts of the body that condoms don't cover, it is still very, very possible to get herpes with a condom on. So like the best advice I could find is if somebody's having an outbreak, just abstain from sex until it's completely cleared up. The regular preventive measures we think of with STIs and STDs don't necessarily work as effectively. Another thing to keep in mind, herpes 1, cold sores. I get cold sores, for instance. 50 to 80% of people have cold sores. Wow. That is herpes 1. You can give somebody genital herpes if you have oral sex while having an outbreak. Also, if you touch a cold sore and then touch yourself, or touch a cold sore and touch a partner, that can also give them herpes too. Like if you were to accidentally touch your cold sore and you're just like wiping your mouth or something and then you touch them or you touch yourself, that's another way to give it. So if you really want to have sexual activity while you have a cold sore, just make sure you're washing your hands really, really good. Do not do oral. Make sure you're being as safe as possible if you do want to have sex while you have a cold sore. I personally am too scared to have sex when I have a cold sore, so I just abstain, which is also another great option because you can't really make out either because you can just give them cold sore back. You can just give them herpes 1 back if they don't have it, and then you make out and now they get it. That's not great either. I think I also forgot to say this in the disclaimer. If anybody chooses to share a personal story in the comments, whatever, like, please be respectful, please be kind. We're doing this as a learning space, not a shame space. If you have ever had an STI, STD, you currently have one, you have herpes, you have one that's incurable, no shame in the comments. We're keeping this a nice, respectful learning space. Be kind to others. So when you hear me say lesbians, it's because I'm pulling directly from the research. But just keep in mind, depending on your genitals or how you have sex, this could also relate to you. All right, so next up is HPV, which is one of the ones that there is a vaccination for. Lesbians are actually the least likely to get HPV due to the type of sex that they usually have. And what they're trying to say by this is vagina owners that sleep with vagina owners are typically doing oral sex or finger-related sex. Not that everybody does those things, but that's what the research is getting at with this. HPV can still be spread, it's just not as common. One way this could happen is mutual masturbation. So touching your genitals, then touching somebody else's. Any genital on genital sex, so think of scissoring and stuff like that. Also, a lot of people say scissoring is a myth. There are vagina owners and vagina owners that have scissoring type sex, tribbing, stuff like that. So that totally does happen, and it is a way to spread HPV if one partner has it. And unsanitized sex toys are also a way this can be spread. So make sure you're cleaning your sex toys. HPV typically does not have symptoms. Genital warts might occur, but it's like not very common. And most vagina owners actually become aware of the fact that they have it through just general pap smears, which is why I was talking about how getting tested is a really good thing and a really good preventative, even if you don't think you have any kind of STD or STI, because HPV is not the only one we're gonna be going over that does not show symptoms. So of course, prevention can be getting the vaccine, cleaning your toys, using a dental dam, or considering using a condom on a sex toy as well, especially if you use these toys with multiple partners or are having sex with multiple partners. Always an option. I also feel like sometimes there's shame around putting condoms on sex toys, but if it's keeping you and your partner clean and happy, just do it, you know? If that's something that you guys are worried about, or if you know one of you has an STI or an STD and you want to keep using toys, a condom is a great way to prevent that. But also just regular hygiene and cleaning of toys is good too. So those two are spread by skin to skin, and now we're gonna be going into STIs and STDs that are spread from vaginal fluids. All right, first up is bacterial vaginosis. So this isn't usually considered an STI, but it is believed to be transmitted via sexual activity as well. 50% of people who have this do not have any symptoms, once again, tested. However, for the 50% that do have symptoms, here's some of the things that you may expect. Foul-smelling discharge that is like either milky gray or milky white, some kind of itching or inflammation down there. And as far as treatment goes, it will typically clear up on its own, or you can go to your local clinic and they will have treatment available there as well. So prevention, avoid vaginal douching because this can remove some of the healthy bacteria, which is another way you can get this. And also avoid sex until the infection is completely cleared up because vaginal fluid on vaginal fluid, you can get it that way. That's a big word. Trichomoniasis. So this is the most commonly contracted but also curable STD among vagina owners. About 30% of vagina owners that have chlamydia will also have this. And once again, 50% of vagina owners are not going to show symptoms. Get tested. For the 50% that do have symptoms, your discharge can come in many different colors: white, yellow, green, gray. It's like appears frothy and can be thick or thin. The vulva, so think like your external genitals, can suffer some like itching and tenderness there. Some cases include an odor, some don't. And 10% of vagina owners might suffer from an inflamed cervix with little like red dots on it. But once again, as you can see, for the people that even do have symptoms, there are like a wide variety of different symptoms. As far as treatment goes, go to a doctor's office. They can take a sample, confirm it, and then they can also give you medication. Prescription drugs do have to be given to clear this up, and it can take about a week. Prevention is pretty typical to what we've been hearing. Clean your sex toys, use dental dams, consider using a condom on your toy, especially if you use it with multiple partners. And then yes, get tested. I feel like a broken record, but I want to make sure you guys know the preventative measures for these, even if they're kind of the same thing over and over. All right, next is chlamydia. Most vagina owners will not have symptoms. And then also around 1 in 20 vagina owners ages 14 to 24 have chlamydia. It's just like much more common in younger people. Now, symptoms include only 5 to 30% of vagina owners, which is a very, very small amount of people. Get tested. The infection first targets the cervix, and then from there it can spread throughout the reproductive tract. So think like your fallopian tubes, things like that. It can also impact the urethra, which can cause increased urination, pain while peeing, tenderness of like the cervix, or even like pain during sex. And chlamydia can also infect the anus, so keep that in mind. Treatment is pretty simple. Go to the doctor, they'll give you some antibiotics, and then of course, prevention is clean your sex toys, dental dams, condoms on toys, and then also abstaining from sex until it's cleared up and getting tested to make sure you don't have it, so therefore you can't pass it on to others unknowingly, and then they won't pass it on to others unknowingly, because 5 to 30% to actually have symptoms is a very low amount of people. All right, next up is gonorrhea. Once again, most vagina owners will not present symptoms, but if they do, it's like super common to feeling like you have a bladder infection. Possible burning while peeing can show up, maybe a little bit of vaginal bleeding in between periods. And this can also be like a rectal infection. If it's a rectal infection, it can include anal discharge, itching, soreness, bleeding, or painful bowel movements. Gonorrhea can also occur in the throat. Symptoms for this are like extremely rare, and they present as just like mild redness and a sore throat. So once again, get tested, because even if you just have that, that's a symptom that comes with like most things. You know, a cold can give you a little bit of an itchy throat. Treatment is a doctor can prescribe 2 different antibiotics that will need to be taken at the same time, and it can take a whole week for symptoms to clear. Prevention, clean your toys. Use a dental dam or a condom on your toys or mouth, you know what I mean. And condoms are one of the best preventative measures for gonorrhea, so keep that in mind. The last one we'll be going over for vagina owners is HIV, which is super, super, super rare in vagina owners that only ever have sex with other vagina owners. However, transmission is completely possible through shared sex toys or exposure to blood during sex. So you've also probably heard of like HIV being spread through shared needles and stuff like that. And the reason that is because of like the blood fluid transfer. So think during your sex life, you know, there's all different kinds of kinks. There's all kinds of different things that people are into. Some of these things do include blood, and that is a possible way to spread. So even though it's very, very uncommon for vagina owners that only really have sex with vagina owners, it is still possible. So there are a lot of things that happen with HIV, but I'm gonna go over some of the more basic ones. In the first 2 to 4 weeks, somebody may develop flu-like symptoms. Swollen glands are some of the first noticeable things. Mouth ulcers, skin rashes, night sweats, muscle aches may also occur in the beginning stages. Stage 2 can either show no symptoms or severe symptoms. This could include coughing, fatigue, weight loss, diarrhea, a difference in menstrual cycle, whether that's lightness or heaviness of the period, and an increase in the contraction of STDs or STIs. Stage 3 is where HIV becomes AIDS. So if you didn't know, AIDS comes from HIV. And AIDS stands for acquired autoimmune disease, which weakens the body's immune system, making the person extremely susceptible to many kinds of infections. I'm sure you have possibly heard about this in just your regular sex ed courses. I know at least mine, we went over HIV and AIDS. And there is actually no cure for HIV, there is no cure for AIDS. Actually, there have been, I think, 3 cases of where they believe they've cured somebody of HIV, and one of those being in 2022. But that's all very new, very recent, still heavily being researched. So I don't want to sit here and say that, like, yes, there is a cure, but there have been 3 very, very rare cases where it has happened. There are like antiviral medications that can help people with HIV and AIDS live longer lives than expected, because if you did not know, unfortunately, it is deadly. So the absolute best thing you can do is get tested. If you find out you have it, consult with your doctor to see what's going to be helpful in your life. Prevention comes back to cleaning your sex toys, possibly use a condom on your toys as well, especially if you're using them with multiple partners. And that'll be it for the vagina owners that have sex with vagina owners. As you can see, like the STD, STI rates are pretty low, but they're not 0. They can still happen. Hopefully one of these preventative measures you've never heard of and you're like ecstatic to hear about it, or maybe you just learned that most of these don't have symptoms that show up and you're like, ah shit, I should really get tested because I've had X amount of sex partners since I've last been tested and I thought I was fine because I didn't have any symptoms. But go get tested, especially if you're regularly having sex with multiple different people. But even if you're not, even if you've only had sex with one person, get tested. You literally never know. There are so many people who have never had symptoms who just do not know. So for my penis owners that have sex with other penis owners, we're gonna go over a little bit for you as well. Once again, these statistics are mainly done on gay cis men, so I've tried to change the language to make it a little bit more inclusive. Since we've basically gone over what a lot of these STDs and STIs are, this section is a little shortened just because we've already had so much information on what they are. Herpes look almost exactly the same for penis owners. They can appear in the same places that we went over. Contraction, treatment, and preventative are basically the same. Once again, condoms can help prevent, but depending on where it is, they could not help prevent. The best prevention is abstain from sex until they're cleared up. And once again, there are medications that can help lessen the occurrence or the severity of the outbreak. These also exist for people who get cold sores, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. Those exist. All right, next up is HPV for penis owners that have sex with other penis owners. Symptoms are basically the same, which is that most people don't have them. If so, maybe genital warts. Treatment and preventative measures are also the same. The study shows that 45% of penis owners have HPV, and the research also shows that penis owners that have sex with other penis owners will often contract HPV soon after they start having sex, so it's best to get the vaccine before you are sexually active. Trichomoniasis, the big word I forgot how to pronounce.
Trichomoniasis.
There are actually lower rates of this in penis owners that have sex with other penis owners. Symptoms can include burning or itching during urination or ejaculation, as well as discharge from the penis. Protection includes condoms, abstaining from sex, and just waiting until your partner is clear. Treatment is also the same for penis owners. So chlamydia is most common anally for penis owners that have sex with other penis owners. So the person who is like receiving anal is most likely to contract it. Symptoms can include urinating or discharge. Symptoms can include pain while urinating, discharge from the penis, burning of the urethra, testicular pains, and treatment is the same. Gonorrhea. Penis owners that have sex with penis owners are much more likely to get gonorrhea. The same with chlamydia. Gonorrhea is much more likely for the person that is receiving anal penetration, and gonorrhea rates are actually currently on the rise. It's treated the same as earlier. A lot of the preventatives are the same, but it is important to get tested, of course. So when it comes to HIV, penis owners that have sex with other penis owners are actually at the highest rate of contracting HIV. HIV will look pretty much the same as far as symptoms occur and how they occur in penis owners. And preventatives are also basically the same, condoms, communication, and getting tested. So there are, of course, other STIs and STDs in the world. These are just what I was able to find the most information on when it comes to queer sex. As far as vagina owners that sleep with other vagina owners or penis owners that sleep with other penis owners, this is what I was able to find the most information on. Once again, I am not a doctor. I did pull out all of this from reliable sources. Nothing I said was just of my own agenda or out of my own mind. Everything I said is backed up. But it is very possible there is something I missed. I didn't touch something that you possibly wish I could have. If you have any other sources, please feel free to leave them below as long as they are reliable and good. And once again, there is no shame in having an STD or an STI. As you can see, it's pretty common at some point in your life to possibly get an STD or an STI, and the best thing you can do is get tested. There is no shame in getting tested, even if you've only had one partner, even if you've had 30 partners. If you regularly have multiple partners, get tested. There's no shame in asking the person you're about to sleep with if they've been tested recently. The sooner we end this shame around STDs and STIs, the quicker we can get to preventing them, because the less shame that surrounds these topics, the more that people will get tested, the more that people will openly communicate. And it's so important for people to feel comfortable. If you have a story you want to drop, this is YouTube, totally feel comfortable to. And if somebody does choose to share their story, remember that if you have questions, be respectful. It is just a part of the human experience. I've personally been tested before. It's really not a bad experience. It's pretty quick, simple, easy, in and out. And it can help you find out if maybe you have an STI or an STD. I just want to reiterate again, of course there are queer couples and queer partnerships that I did not cover in this video. I just wanted to touch on what I feel like most education, at least in the US, never touches on. I know I never got STD rates or STI rates in my sex ed classes. I never got any preventative measures other than talking about condoms and then the HPV vaccine. Shit, I didn't even know what most symptoms looked like in these in general. So hopefully you learned something. I definitely learned a lot while doing my research. And I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. If you want any of my socials, they will be linked down in the description below. Thank you so much, Beducated, again for sponsoring this video. Once again, code Sybil for 65% off. You'll be able to find them in the description or in the pinned comment. And with that being said, do you guys want to see something cool? If I take this little wolf man that Allie got me at Dave & Buster's, look, isn't he cute? And I put him over the camera like this, it looks like I said, bye!
Hey OBB subscribe. Hey OBB subscribe. Hey OBB subscribe.